Hello, Carla here again with Concrete Gardens Homestead in Southwest Missouri. And it's January here, folks, and of course we're starting to think about our garden year coming up, and we're getting ready for that. And one of the things that I want to do this year is have a worm bin. I want my own worm castings. Worm castings are they're black gold. They are the greatest things for your vegetables, your flowers, any kind of plant. They're just wonderful, and they're very expensive to buy. This bag, it's a 10-pound bag. I bought it last year, and I used it very sparingly, not the way it was suggested to be used, but I used it very sparingly because it's $25 for this one 10-pound bag of worm castings. The way worm castings are supposed to be used for vegetables is 1 pound for 1 square foot. So a 10-pound bag like this, $25, would cover 10 square feet of a garden, of a raised bed. Now, right now I have 3 raised beds, and each one of them is 2.5 feet wide by 20 feet long. That's 45 square feet. So just to do one raised bed of mine, it would take $125 in worm castings. So, of course, my husband, left brain, I'll talk about him in a little bit, but he said, no way, we're not doing worm castings. So I decided, you know what, we'll just buy some worms and I'll make my own worm castings. Very inexpensive to do it that way. You just have some startup costs initially, and then this can go on for years and years and years. So basically, to start out, you need a tub. Now this is a 24-gallon tub from Lowe's, and I believe it was $24. You can get them less expensive at Walmart, maybe not as thick or as sturdy, but again, I'm in this for the long haul, so I wanted something that's going to last. So I spent the $24, and this is real heavy duty tub. It's got a lock-on lid and very sturdy. That helps keep rodents out. I don't know if we have rodents, but I don't want anything in my worm bin outdoors that could eat my worms. But anyway, that's an initial startup cost. The other initial cost is some coco coir to get started. Now this is a 10-pound brick. You really only need about 5 pounds, so about half of this brick to get started in about a 24 or 25-gallon tub. And this is $24 on Amazon for a 10-pound brick. So not too bad. We're up to about $48, $50 here, and really that's about all that we need. So I will mention tub size. You really don't want to go, from what I've learned, you don't want to go below 15 gallons. That would be the minimum that you would want worms in. And really about the maximum for a single bin would be about a 50-gallon tub. So somewhere in between there would be ideal. And just to start out and try it out, I chose, 24 gallons. It was affordable, and that's what I decided to go with. So we've got about 5 pounds of coco coir in here. I'm going to tip this up. First, I'll show you. You wet this. You just open this brick and you put it in a tub with, probably for 10 pounds, would you say about 5 gallons of water will hydrate it. I'm going to try to lift this up. Now, it's a little bit heavy because it's damp. Can you see that okay? And this is after it's been hydrated. It takes a little bit. I mean, I don't know, maybe an hour. And you get this real fine stuff here. For worms, you don't want it to be too wet. Worms breathe through their skin. So you want it to be this is pretty dry, okay? I mean, it's damp, but that's it. And you can add water to it, but you're going to be feeding them your leftover kitchen scraps, your vegetable kitchen scraps. No meat, no grease, nothing like that. They love leafy greens. They love apple cores, banana peels cut up. Stay away from onions, stay away from hot peppers, and stay away from too much citrus. I wouldn't really use any of that. But anyway, a pound of worms will eat a pound of food every day. And so it's recommended that you feed them weekly. I'm going to start out with a little bit less than 7 pounds of food. I'm going to get a pound of worms. That's about 1,000 worms. You use red wigglers for this. And the cost of the worms, it is going to be around $50. But again, that's it. You don't have to ever buy any more worms because they reproduce and grow and all of that themselves. So you don't have to worry about buying worms every year or anything like that. So again, less than $100, you're set up, really. And that's good because for one garden bed of mine, it would take $125 just to do one garden bed with bags of this. All right, now the other things I'm going to add in here before I start talking about their food and stuff is we've got some coffee grounds, okay? And we've dried these out. They're not real wet. Now, if I already had worms in here, it would probably be just fine to add them in a little bit wet. But I don't have worms yet. I want this to sit for about a week. So we're going to order our worms this weekend, get them in next weekend. This will be sitting for about 10 days, which is kind of perfect. It lets all that moisture and stuff dry up. And then the other thing I'm adding in is some eggshells. Now, I really need more eggshells, but this is what I had for the video today. This is a dozen, and this is ground up in a food processor. Real fine. I'm very, very fine. That's almost like sand. And I'm adding this. They need a little bit of grit. And then right now the ground is frozen, so I can't add this, but I'm probably going to add a scoop of dirt from my garden area when the ground thaws up a little bit, which we're supposed to get some 45-degree temperatures here in just a few days. So before I put the actual worms in here, I'm going to add a scoop of dirt from the yard, from the garden. And then the other thing they really like is shredded up newspaper for bedding. And you just add that right in, and you've got your worm bin. Then you get your worms in there, and that's when you start adding in just your table scraps. You do about for a week at a time. I'm going to start out with about 5 pounds of table scraps for the first go around, and I'm going to check my bin in about 3 or 4 days to see how they're chewing through that, okay? Because you don't want to add too much. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. I'll get the rest of those clippings later. So, before I start talking about adding too much, let's talk about the air holes. So you need a 1/4 inch drill bit. Left Brain has all this neat stuff, so I don't have to buy any of this. And you drill holes up here in the top. And you don't get it up to the top, toward the top, because you don't want your worms to crawl through those holes. And you just drill these all the way around for air holes. And there's one back here that I still need to do, just to show you. It's very easy. It doesn't take much effort at all. Now, he'll get real mad at me if I get this off kilter, but anyway, I'm going to put it right in the center. And that's all that is. So that's very easy to do, and you just go around the whole top for air. Now, a lot of people do drain holes in the bottom, and you really don't want to do that. I've heard that some people think that that is worm tea, and it's not. The way you make worm tea is with the actual worm compost inside your bin, and you put it in a bucket or like a trash can with an aerator and let it aerate for a few days. Now that is super good to water your plants with, but you don't use any kind of seepage from the worms from the bottom of a tub. In fact, you don't want to have any of that. That's bad stuff. That is really a leachate, and that's where that worm stuff, it just gathers. It just passes right through undigested material, gathers that up, and that can be actually toxic, even to your plants and to humans. So you don't want that. So you wouldn't want to put drain holes in the bottom of these tubs anyway, because you don't want that liquid on your plants. So you want to figure out the exact amount to feed to keep that from happening. You just want them to be happy, and you don't want your vegetables that you're putting in to produce any of that liquid. So that's basically why you've got to get it dialed in. It may take 7 pounds a week, or it may only take 5 pounds, or somewhere in between there. But you got to watch it and kind of keep an eye on that, because you don't want that liquid forming in the bottom. So basically that's it. Now we're going to wait, like I said, a week, because some of this cocoa core is kind of damp. We're going to let this sit for a week before we put our worms in. I've seen stories and things where people put the worms in the same day they make their bin, and it either scares the worms so bad they crawl up and crawl out the air holes, or they come back in 3 or 4 days and the worms have drowned, and that would be tragic. So we're just going to let this sit for like a week, and then we're going to have another video when we get our worms in here and we add them to our bin. And at that time, we're going to add some vegetables for them as well, some food scraps, vegetable scraps for them. And we'll show you how to do all that. And so we're really looking forward to this compost. This is just one of the healthiest things for plants. I also read where worm castings can actually deter bugs, insects, even like aphids, which if that's the case, I'm putting it all over my tomato plants, all around them, because I am so tired of fighting aphids every year. But anyway, it does deter a lot of insects and things like that, even in addition to providing nutrition, extra oxygen, everything that the roots of the plants really need. It prevents root rot, crown rot. So lots of good benefits for worm castings. I'm excited to try it out this year and get started, and we're going to take you on that journey with us. All right.